I was just taking a quick look at this new portable power station. This is something we haven't seen before from AFERY. And basically, it's an all new design with good specs, right? So, good specs. And, as usual, we'll kind of talk about the design, do a little bit of a design analysis on this thing at the end of the video. But let's just kind of jump into the specs here. So, and just, kind of a heads up, it does have pretty good, well rounded, top. It's top shelf stuff, really, for this size class. This is like a 33-pound unit, so keep that in mind. So we do get 1,248 watt hours, and yes, it is using an LFP battery. And then for the inverter, we do get 1,200 watt continuous. Now there's no kind of special voltage dropping boost mode with this unit. There's no app. So 1,200 watts is what it's rated for. 1,200 watts is what you get. And but as I've talked about in some of my videos, you can do a lot. You can basically do everything you're going to need to do with 1,200 watts. You just got to get the appropriate sized appliance, right? If you want to do cooking, get like a 1,000-watt hot plate. If you really want to microwave something, you got to get like a 700-watt microwave. Again, I've talked about this. The output wattage of a microwave is different from the actual amount of power that thing draws from the wall. So a 700-watt microwave will actually draw around 1,000 watts. But still, you could get a little 700-watt microwave, and then everything else you should be able to, run with this unit. And I do like to see that they're actually giving you a true, a double of the surge, right? We can double 2,400 watts. And then for the charging specs here, we get decent, pretty good stuff here. So, this is the combination. We'll get to that here more in a second. But, basically straight up from the wall, 700 watts. So there's no power cord or power brick with this thing. It's just the cord. And then, for the solar here, 500 watts right there. And, which is pretty usable on a 1,248 watt hour battery. But, the voltage specs and everything like that makes it's good. It makes it actually quite usable. So 11.5 to 50 volts is the input on this solar there, and actually up to 20 amps. So that's actually really nice to see that. And they've kind of gone a little overboard actually with that, with the connector on that, I should say. They're actually using an XT90 on there, so that kind of interesting on that. And just in case if you didn't know, like XT60 stands for it can handle up to 60 amps, and then obviously XT90 can handle up to 90 amps. So yeah, a little overkill on that, but still, I'd rather see I'd rather see a little bit bigger than a little bit too small, right? And then we do have the from the car, 10 hours from the car. Yeah, that's typical. And then, but the big news that if you really want to charge this thing up a lot faster, is that combination. So you can actually do the 700 watts from the wall and the 500 watts from solar at the same time. So a maximum, theoretically, you can put 1,200 watts into this thing, which will charge it in, well, they're saying 1.5 hours, some around an hour, so pretty decent on that. And we do get UPS with this, UPS, and it's at least what they're claiming 10 milliseconds. So hopefully that's true. If that is true, then that's definitely a UPS I would count on. And so good to see, really good to see. So many other power stations are talking 20-30 milliseconds. 10 milliseconds is really where you want to be, especially if you're using it like as I show here with a computer. That's that should definitely keep that thing on if the power were to suddenly go out. And everything that it comes with, well, they do give you a little storage bag for the cables, which is interesting because there is actually a storage box on top of the unit there, which I actually really like to see that. Right? I mean, it's just almost easier just to keep the cables right in the unit. So yeah, good stuff there. And they do mention this here is actually a dust cover. So I don't know if dust cover, is it a bag or what, or just maybe it's just a cover, but for the for the unit. And then actually really thick cables they include with this. Of course, if they're using XT90 on that solar cable, it should be pretty heavy gauge cabling, and it looks like it is. And then for the DC outputs, we do get This is actually interesting here. We do get a couple of DC outputs here, but if you can actually see here, it makes it, they list these as both the 12 volt 10 amps. So you would probably think based on this that there's two cigarette outlets on there, but there's actually only one. There's one here, and then this other one, they actually have it corrected on, let's see, this image here is actually an XT60 output. There's like a little XT60 output there. And if we can kind of zoom in there, you can actually see that they actually have that one rated at 12 volts, 25 amps. And again, that's really interesting as well because it outputs 25 amps there, and they've gone with XT60. But the solar can input 20 amps, and they've gone with XT90. Again, just kind of weird like that. And we do get, you know, a couple of these, a little 3 amp 5521. But so, I mean, yeah, so between the car socket, the XT60, and these, you know, a lot of good DC options there. And then actually a lot of good USB options as well, including this one at the end here is 100 watt USB-C. But yeah, I definitely like to see that. I mean, you know, these big 30, 40, 50 pound power stations, you know, some of these companies are still only putting like a couple USB ports in these things, right? Like, so I like to see 6 of them. I like to see 6 of them. And yeah, by the way, the USB-A's are quick charge. And then we do get a little light here on the front, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I like to see them on the back just so it's not going to blind you in a dark situation. And what's worse about this, there's only one brightness mode with this. So I would just say to AFERY, you know, like if you're going to have the light on the front, give us multiple brightness settings. Give us a dim, give us even a super dim setting, please. Or just, you know, put the light on the back. And then just a quick design analysis on this thing. It's a very clean, very modern, very attractive looking unit. You know, everything's well integrated into it. It kind of, you know, gives everything a nice clean flush look. But we do have this kind of like nice little edge that kind of runs around the bottom there. So this just gives it a little bit of visual interest. And then of course we do get the handles that are tucked into the corner with that flat top. That's kind of the best design for these kind of bigger, bulkier power stations. So you know, if you're going to design a power station, I'd start with that, and they did. So that's good. And then kind of the big standout thing to me with this unit is this, you know, this really large, nice display screen. Not only is it nice just to have the screen itself large, but having the actual percentage very large as well is something I talked about this a little bit more in my Amp Road 300 videos. Something I really like about that unit is again that big, large display, especially the percentage itself, very large. You can read it from across the room, right, or anywhere really. If you can get a visual on this unit, you know, you're going to be able to see what the percentage is at just by glancing at the unit. And actually nice kind of the bar, I kind of like the big chunky blocks on there as well. That just helps as well. And nice to see that they've gone with something a little bit different. You know, so many power stations, they use like kind of the circle. So I do like to kind of see that as well. And really the hue that they've used with this, like this white, you know, font basically with this really nice kind of, it's not quite true green. It's almost like a little bit of a teal green, but it looks quite nice and very bright, very high contrast. And even though this is kind of like a computer rendering, as you can see here, I kind of took the snapshot from off-duty cruising. Yeah, put the credit right there. So check it out if you want to see this thing kind of like in person. But you know, basically it looks just as good in real life as it does on the rendering here. So I do like to see that. Now the one thing he did note in his video is, and just like the Amp Road 300, you know, it's kind of pros and cons with the screen. It's a bright, beautiful screen, easy to read, but it never turns off. So if you're using this unit, you can't turn the screen off. So that's something, you know, you got to know it if you want to use this, you know, when you're sleeping or at night, you're going to have to just, you know, throw a towel over this thing or something like that. So yeah, that's a new AFERY 1200 watt power station, you know, good specs all around, right? If you're looking for a mid-size unit around 30, 35 pounds, you know, around, well, 1248 watt hours, it's pretty good capacity. And this price, yeah, especially if this, with this coupon, I don't know how long that's going to last, but that's like 50 cents a watt hour, right? Even a little bit less. And you do get, you know, it looks like a solid inverter, pretty good solar specs and just good charging specs. And like I said, it's a really attractive unit. I really like that display screen. It's just too bad you can't turn it off. So I'd say to AFERY, do some kind of software update to be able to turn that off. So yeah, hopefully you just kind of found this overview helpful, interesting, entertaining. And yeah, thanks for watching.